Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Nick Fair from the IT Innovation Centre at the University of Southampton, and I'm here today with my colleague
Dr. Stephen Phillips, also from the IT Innovation Centre.
Okay, so in the last video we modelled the beginnings of our system at the data and process layer and with the humans that are related to it. We then validated that model and it's seen that we've got 5 possible modelling errors. So Stephen, what should we do about these?
Yeah, so let's just open up this part of the accordion and see what Spyderisk is warning us about. We've got 5 possible errors. If you hover over each of them, it gives you more information, or you can indeed click to get a description the same as that tooltip. And the one I've clicked on here is saying that the process called database has no host, and that every process should be running on a host. So that makes a lot of sense. You can't have software just floating about, not actually running on a computer, and the computer that is running that software is very important from a cybersecurity point of view. So Spyderisk is kind of forcing us to define what those hosts are. So we can do that. We've got the 3 processes that it's highlighting on the canvas that have this problem. There's also a couple of other modelling errors, one about a jurisdiction for processing the data. That's because the customer data is personal data, and so we know that's covered by regulation such as GDPR, so we probably ought to be specifying what legal jurisdiction this system model resides in. And then we've got a second error here, which is also to do, frankly, with the fact that we've got no hosts, and that one's going to appear once we fix these simpler issues. So, hosts then. Let's add a server, because that web server process is going to need to sit on a server run by this sales company. We've got lots of different types of hosts here. Some of them are portable, some of them are fixed, some of them are things like smartwatches or phones, and some are larger systems like this server. And we need to distinguish between them because, of course, if it's a mobile phone, you might leave it in a cafe and someone might steal it quite easily. But if it's a big old server like this, no one's going to be simply walking off with it.
So in other words, there are different risks, threats, security implications for the different types of hardware, or in this case, hosts.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm just drawing an arrow here to show that the server is hosting the database, and we'll also make it host the web server. I mean, you might have a different computer hosting the web server to the database, but let's keep it simple. So that's the server over there. And then what about the sales manager and the web browser? I think the sales manager is likely to have a laptop or notebook, as it's called here. So let's put that on the canvas, and we'll call it laptop, and we're going to make it so the laptop hosts the web browser, and that should fix those modelling errors. So let's quickly press the validate button again and see if the Spyderisk system is going to alert us to anything else. It'll probably still tell us about the jurisdiction, of course. Oh, we got 7 now. You see, we solved some problems, but it's now identified new ones. So, for instance, it's warning us that there's no network path from the web browser to the web server, and it's highlighting the assets that are raising that concern. And what's going on there, Nick, is that we've said that the web browser uses the web server. We've said that the web browser is hosted on the laptop and that the web server is hosted on the server.
Yep.
And what it's saying is, okay, well, if the web browser is going to communicate with the web server, then somehow the laptop has to be able to communicate with the server.
Yeah, okay. So that if where we've got a sort of process relationship, we need an equivalent sort of host or hardware relationship.
Exactly. So laptops, the different hosts are going to communicate via a computer network, and that will enable one process to talk to the other one.
Yeah.
At the moment, we've got no network, so the laptop can't actually access the web server.
Okay, so how do we solve that one?
So we need to add a network, and sometimes this can be quite complicated, but we'll keep it reasonably simple. I think, for instance, the sales company is going to have a router. So this is the piece of hardware that switches the network connections within the company, and we'll also have that router communicating with the outside world, because this sales company isn't going to reside within a sealed space. They're going to need access to the internet as well. But we'll start with the router.
Okay.
Now, you might be thinking that the router should be in the network asset area, but actually it's up here as a host, and that's because a router is a specialized computer, essentially. It's not just a dumb piece of hardware, it's actually a computer, and so that's why it's in the host area. So we'll add that to the canvas, and you don't normally connect a computer directly to a router. You're going to have some sort of network infrastructure. So that server is almost certainly going to be connected via a wired local area network, or LAN. So this is going to be some Ethernet cables in a computer room, and we'll connect that up. So the server can be connected to the LAN, or the LAN can be provided by the server. Now that's not the one we want. We want that the server is connected to the LAN. The other one is all about whether the computer is responsible for doing the domain names and giving out IP addresses and so forth on that network, and that's exactly what we want for this connection. So this time we want that the wired LAN is provided by the router. As it says on the tooltip, it's things like the routing for the subnets, network allocation and address translation and so forth.
I noticed here, Stephen, that when you're making these connections, the Spyderisk tool prompts you by highlighting one of them in blue. Is it highlighting that on the basis of which is most suitable?
I think it's just I think it's probably just the first one in the list. But what it is doing in that list is showing you the ones in the direction that you drew first of all. So if I know that the laptop is going to be connected to the Wi-Fi, then it's showing me, because it could be the other way around. The arrow could be going the other way around.
I see.
But it's putting that one at the top because that's the direction that I drew the arrow.
That's quite useful.
Yeah. So but also you don't need to know which way to draw the arrow in the first place, because that's really hard at predicting it sometimes. So if I, in this case, go from the router to the Wi-Fi, then it's suggesting router connected to Wi-Fi because that's the direction I drew the arrow. Yeah. But actually I look at it and think, oh no, the Wi-Fi needs to be provided by the router. So in the same way that the wired LAN. And I'll just rename this asset as well to get rid of that random jumble on the end. So while we were talking about the options, I added on this Wi-Fi LAN because the laptop's just going to be in the office connecting to the Wi-Fi, I reckon. And the other thing I mentioned about the router is we're going to connect it to the internet. So we've got a special asset for the internet, which is pretty much the same as a wired LAN, except for the fact that it's automatically configured to be really untrustworthy. So what I mean is the internet is generally the origin of many cybersecurity attacks. Not all of them, but many. It's a massive source of problems, and so we automatically configure this asset to say that the users of the internet that could be connecting from the internet are generally really untrustworthy.
So any system that has an internet connection is going to be inherently more exposed to cybersecurity risk. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And so if we look at this router, as you see, we got the wired LAN and the Wi-Fi LAN provided by the router, so it's managing those networks. But of course the router is not actually managing the internet, it's just connected to the internet, and there's a whole load of other infrastructure out there that provides the internet, but we don't need to model that, we can just abstract it away into this one tile.
Okay, that makes sense. So this is the network layer that we're looking at here.
Exactly.
Have we modelled everything we need to do in the network layer?
I think so. Let's press validate, and we haven't solved all the problems that were highlighted, but one of those issues has kind of led us down this path. So let's click validate and see where we're at.
Okay. So we have still got some modelling errors, and we'll turn to resolving some of those in our next video.